Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the news behind the news with Ralph Kintav on Mix 94.7 FM. And I hope that you guys have been having a great day so far. This afternoon, I have here with me Miss Glenda Valies. Good afternoon, and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Ralph. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's indeed a pleasure to have you. I know that you are often on the other side of a camera or a notepad.
Yes.
So today you're in the hot seat. I promise it won't get too warm. But part of the reason that I brought you here is one, I always make it a point of focus for this program to speak to our young professionals on the island. There are different fields. I believe that the public should be aware that, we have a lot of great minds that can help to take Sid Martin further. And also because you're doing great things that I think, the public should be aware of.
Thank you.
And definitely do continue with that. So, in addition to that, there's also a subject I would like to touch on, as I also try to get, let's say, real stories of things everyday persons will go through that don't necessarily make the headlines. I'd like to thank you as well for accepting to do this interview.
No problem at all.
Cool. So to start off, I guess I'll start off with how was it like for you, growing up on St. Martin, and what about the island, is so special for you?
It's home. Like, that's point blank. Yeah. My dad is from here. My mom is practically from here. She's originally from Nevis, but she's had more than half of her life here, so I consider her a St. Martiner. I lived around my family. I grew up around my family. I went to Mac school. I went to academy.
Great job.
Yeah. I think so too. So I had pretty decent friends. So it wasn't a life to complain about. I've had a pretty good life in comparison to other people, of course. I've had a pretty good life. I've had very dedicated and supportive parents that if I was interested in something, they would try their best to help me pursue it. So there's nothing really much to complain about. Okay,
cool. And from there, you decided to go ahead and study hospitality management.
Yes.
What was the inspiration behind that?
That was actually my dad and my aunt. My aunt is a taxi driver, and my dad worked at Mulla Bay. And then I don't remember, maybe like third form. And by then you have to kind of decide what it is that you want to do, what's the avenue that you're going to take. And I think I was watching them and I was thinking about that tourism is a big thing on the island, like tourists come here. And I was like, I want to do something that contributes to the island. So I want to do something that inspires the tourists to want to come back to the island. That was my thinking. So I inquired, like, what do you call that? And my dad told me hospitality. I was like, okay, well, then that's what I'm going to go and study. And that's where it started. And I just, being around my dad, I don't have that many memories of Mulla Bay. But I remember my dad just working a lot and a few times getting to go to Mulla Bay with him. And a few times I've gone to work with my aunt as a taxi driver, seeing her interaction, seeing how happy the people were to be here, how excited they were, and just her interaction with them. And I was like, I want to be part of that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And then I decided to study, like you said, hospitality management. I did my associate's degree at USM right here.
Okay.
Because I was 16 when I graduated.
You're still too young.
Yeah, so they decided, no, you can stay here for a few years.
And that's a good choice as well.
Yeah. Well, tell 16-year-old me that was a good choice. After that, I went to the University of South Florida in Tampa and Sarasota. I studied hospitality management there. I got my bachelor's degree in hospitality management. I worked a little bit over a year at a Holiday Inn in Sarasota. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I decided to pursue my master's degree in hospitality and tourism management at the University of Central Florida, Rosen College.
Okay, gotcha.
So
you had that Florida experience.
Yeah, I had that Florida experience.
Which is pretty good as well.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
I definitely liked it.
Okay. So having done your bachelor's and your master's, did you feel like your master's? Did you at any point feel like your bachelor's was enough, and then the decision to then do your master's? Can you explain what was it like doing it, particularly in hospitality?
Okay. Yeah, when I did my bachelor's, I was like, no, I'm done with school. I'm not. No, I don't want to do any more schooling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. And then I did a class in destination marketing, and that kind of sparked my interest. I was like, oh, this is different from hospitality, but it's interesting. And then I worked at the Holiday Inn. But I think when I did the destination marketing, I was like, okay, maybe I might do some more schooling and figure out what this destination marketing thing is, what this tourism thing is, because it seems really, really interesting. And it was with that I decided, okay, I'll try some more, and I decided to pursue my master's,
Yeah.
in hospitality and tourism. The hospitality courses I found were pretty good, for lack of I can't think of a better word right now, because the thing with hospitality, it's that it's basically teaching you how to interact with people, because one of the things that you have to do is have emotional intelligence.
Yes, definitely.
It's one of the classes that we had when I did my master's, but it's a business degree with some specialty classes also. So you have to know how to work the equipment that they have at the hotel. You have to know how to interact with the people and what's acceptable and not acceptable. You have to know the different types of things that you deal with as far as tourists. I say tourists, as far as guests.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know how to carry yourself in that environment. So it's not just business where you can be behind the scenes. With hospitality, you are the face of your company in most times.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to know how do you carry yourself, how to understand what is going on, and then you go from there. And then the thing that I liked with my master's degree, Rosen College is actually a research school, so I actually did a lot of research. That's my first time doing research. But it was interesting because it made you dive deep into subject matter. So it's not a very surface level.
Yeah.
You have to figure out, and then you have to prove your point, and you have to see both sides of a story. And it was definitely a learning experience that I definitely enjoyed.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because, hospitality can often seem like a very easy pass,
No.
And like you said, it's more than just the surface, because it really is a skill, and you have to learn how to deal with
Yes,
people.
and definitely hospitality, there's a personality type for hospitality.
Very true, yeah.
Not everyone you could learn all the things, but when you actually have to deal with people, that's a totally different, not everyone can do hospitality at all.
Like being a teacher or a nurse.
Yeah, it's a personality type. I can do it for job purposes, but in my personal life, a lot of my friends will tell you, I'm not the same person that you see on the job. I will be a different person, but you just have to know how to adjust yourself in certain instances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So something that comes to mind is the fact that, it goes without saying, you come from a very large family, but yourself, yourself and your husband, you guys are involved in arts and culture, and that is something as well that is part of the heritage you come from. So as I asked you in the beginning about growing up on an island, how has that played a role in your career and maybe your creativity, the ideas you come up with? Do you ever think about stories that you were told growing up and so forth?
Yes and no. I'm just very observant mostly. So I kind of, I'm, like you said, I came from a large family. A lot of my family is outspoken and will tell you what they think without self-doubt. I'm more of observant. I'm quite like my mom, so I will just observe a lot of things. But the good thing is that when you observe people, like, you hear things without actually having to interact. So a lot of the things that I heard or that I remember from when I was younger, then now as an adult, I would ask more questions about it. Like, my dad has lots of memories and lots of stories, and he will tell you any story you want to hear whenever. So I tend to ask my dad a lot of things about his family and my grandma, my grandpa, and just to get the feel of it from that point. And then every now and then I would reach out to other family members and ask them, hey, this and this and this, and whatever the case is.
Okay, got you. So, and come back home, you know, you got your big master's degree in your arm, like, hey, ready to conquer the world.
Yeah.
What was it like, in terms of basically establishing yourself on the island? Did you feel like, there were many opportunities are provided, and that, with this master's, you have a golden ticket to any job on St. Martin?
I wish that was the case. Unfortunately, it was not. So I won't name names. I just remember I came down, I had graduated and I came down for Christmas. And I was still deciding if I would move back or if I would try to find a job in the States. And I did an interview at a hotel and I was offered a position, but I would just have to, they wouldn't be able to put me in a management position, which is, I was fine with. I would then have to start as a lower up and then learn as I go. I'm totally fine with that. But the guy that I was supposed to be shadowing, I felt like he kept brushing me off. But I was told, you can get this position when you move back. So based off of that, I decided to move back. Then I came home, and that didn't quite work out. So then I was left fresh out of school with no job. Then I started looking around, and that didn't quite work out either. Thankfully, at some point, I got in touch with Miss Veronica Jansen. I think I said her name correctly. She...
Oh, who used to be at GB?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's her name. Yeah.
But in the past, she was working with some people that had a marketing research company.
Okay.
So thankfully, I got in touch with her, and I was able to do that with her for a while. And then I got a job at the post office for a while. I interviewed at the Tourist Bureau, which was ultimately where I wanted to end up. But unfortunately, that didn't work out with the positions that they had available. I didn't quite make it to eligibility for the positions that they had. So it has not been, it wasn't a very smooth road in finding work when I came back. I thought maybe, you have a master's degree in hospitality and tourism, which is
the island's bread and butter.
Yes. So it's
job galore.
It's not like jobs galore or you're guaranteed. I never thought I was guaranteed a job, but I expected at least a few more opportunities to be available.
Naturally.
And that wasn't necessarily the case, which is part of why I started my own thing, because I was like, okay, if what I want isn't happening for me, then let me just create my own thing and make that work for me and see where that ends up. Yeah,
and I love that you said. I really love that you said that, because sometimes that I ask you that because that's experience many.
Unfortunately,
indeed, many St. Martinans have gone through. Because the minute you fly back to whether it's the Netherlands to the States, you are seen as an asset. Just the fact that we come from an island, they're like, wow, you're so what is a word they like to use? Ethnic. You know what I mean? But nevertheless, so you decided to start your own thing. But before we get to that, I'm curious though, how did that make you feel? I can still imagine it's not easy.
No.
Do you feel like that may have affected your mental health? Your that you maybe felt a sort of, maybe hatred is a strong word, but for St. Martin and for the system, how was your reaction up until you decided to do your own thing?
How was my reaction? I think I was a bit what's that word? Not hopeless, but just a little bit okay, am I gonna get anything? But at that point too, I think when my sister or someone close to me, when they came down for school, they had a long time without finding work also. And they had a longer time than I did. I think I had a few months, and they had almost a year or a bit over a year unable to find work after coming back home. So trying to find a silver lining. In comparison, I really didn't have anything to complain about, so I just tried to stay positive and be like, okay, something's gonna work out. Don't have to worry about it. But I did feel a bit discouraged, because if you're looking and you're trying to find something, especially studying tourism and going to the tourism office. And I mean, they have all rights to hire who they think are qualified. So I'm not even trying to bash them or anything like that. But like going there, like you kind of expect or like really hope that you would be working there. Like that was my thing that I wanted to do. And I really had hoped that the STA, Tourism Authority, because that was also a conversation at the time.
Yeah.
So I was hoping that would pan out. So then even if I don't get a tourist bureau, then when the STA is formed, I can apply there, and then hopefully.
That took many turns, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, we don't even hear anything about it anymore. So it's just that you just kind of have to readjust how you think about things and how you go about things.
Yeah. And speaking of readjustment, GCY Initiative.
Yes.
Could you tell us about it, the name, and what does it mean, and what was the starting phase like?
GCY Initiative is my initiative at destination marketing. So again, I didn't get through with anything by the tourist office. So I decided to venture on my own and promote what I think is important things to promote. So GCY Initiative is Sid Martin based, but I'm open to traveling other places also. Showcasing local talent. So whether you're an entrepreneur or an artist or someone just doing things, I like to promote what that person is doing because I'm a believer in cultural tourism. So it's not just about presenting what we think people want to know, but cultural tourism also goes with informing your population about their culture. So it would start in schools, and then you inform them so that everybody knows who they are, where they came from. So then they naturally present that to the world. And then when persons come in, they can see who we are. So it's not just about the parties and the beaches and that type of stuff, which I thoroughly enjoy, but also to just show our uniqueness through that form. And I wanted to present it from that aspect. So for me, it was to contact the Johnny Cakers and interview them about starting the Johnny Cakers, doing it as a couple on the island. How was that journey for you? It is having a conversation with Sigma Defense about being an artist on the island and how is that journey. It's a conversation with Akila Mullins. I hope I don't butcher her name.
Mullins,
about her skincare line. And asking her how that journey was. And the fun part about Akila's interview is that she doesn't want to be in front of the camera. So I was technically, I think, her first interview. So it was just a fun, because I know her personally. It was a fun interview that can be very relaxed. So it's just showing what we have. And it's also presenting topics that you think are too big for the island. So part of why I took this interview with you is because, like I told you, I was reaching out to persons to have conversations with them, but a lot of people aren't willing, or even if they're willing, maybe they're not able to speak about it. So a lot of people shy away. So when this opportunity presented itself, I'm like, you can't talk it and then not live up to it also. Yeah. So that's GCY, just to present what we have on Sid Martin and show that nothing is too big for what we have on the island.
Okay. And how can people, where is GCY Initiative?
GCY Initiative is on, where am I? I'm on Instagram. GCY Initiative is on Instagram. It's on Facebook, and I also have a YouTube channel.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right. So in doing that, I know that with content creation, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a bit about what goes into vlogging and blogging as well? And your experience doing that also.
Okay. So GCY Initiative started off as a blog initially, doing the same thing, just in written form. And as time went on, I realized that videos are also, this is like a few years ago, that videos were more dominant. It catches people's eyes quicker. Yeah. So I decided to start venturing into that, the content creation. Right now, it's mostly when I go out somewhere, even if it's like a family event, I try to capture moments on my phone. I get permission from people because I won't if I'm going to put it on the internet.
Yeah, you don't just randomly record people.
My friends know that I will randomly tape you, but other people.
I got you.
So it's basically finding something that you're actually going to cover, then going out and actually covering it, and then the editing process, especially for videos, the editing process, and then putting it out to the world.
Sometimes, so.
Yeah. Yes.
The funny thing, especially with shorter videos, take quite a while to edit.
And it depends how much of a perfectionist that you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a journey, but I enjoy it. 'Cause one of my things is that I'm very quiet shy. So I won't walk around like this with my phone, taping myself talking. Because I will admit, when the phones became a craze, I was kind of judging people that would be talking into the phones, and then for vlogging purposes, you now have to talk into a phone or a camera. So it took a while to get used to that, or just be like, hey guys, I have a camera. Would you guys mind if I tape you? It was a process, just finding the confidence to approach people and be like, hey, I do this. Would it be okay if I went ahead and taped you as you do this? Or would you mind if I came to your event and covered your event? Or would you mind having an interview with me? Because a lot of people that I reach out to for interviews, I don't know personally. So it is a big deal for me to reach out and be like, hey, would you like to do an interview with me? And then meet with them to do the interview. And then I have the interview, and then it's the editing process. And learning the editing process, it's not, I don't think it's very difficult. It's just so many things that you can do.
Yeah. Because the basic is really drag and drop. Cut
and then just figure out where you want to cut and stuff.
And so forth. Yeah, correct.
But if you want to make it all razzle-dazzle, that takes a little bit more time. Yeah. But it's fun. I like it, definitely.
Okay.
It just takes me a while sometimes to actually do the editing part.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the News Behind the News with Ralph Cantab on Mix 94.7 FM. And today I'm joined with Glenda York Valies as we talk about the world of vlogging, blogging, tourism, and just basically highlighting our young professionals here on Sid Martin. And so as we last spoke about, GCY Initiative, which is the platform that you launched to promote Sid Martin, and from a what's the word I'm looking for? Promote Sid Martin from a local point of view. One of the things that come to mind as well is, in content creation, something that goes hand in hand is often partnerships. So what is it like for you in, collaborating with other creatives, but even companies as well?
I'm actually working on that part. So my goal this year, because I've had GCY Initiative, it's been an initiative for about 6 years this year. And my goal for this year was just to be consistent, because I fluctuate with, again, content and then life. So it fluctuates a lot. So my goal for this year was simply to be consistent as possible with my videos, with posting on social media, with just being up to date with everything. Thankfully, I was able to do that for the most part. So my goal with next year would be to be reaching out more to people and try to do more collaborative things. So I count my interviews as collaborations, because then I'm reaching out to another entity.
True.
But as far as with companies and that type of thing, I haven't done that as yet. So if you're listening and you want GCY to come out and, showcase something that you have, I'm more than willing. You can find me on any social media or email me, gcytravels@gmail.com. Okay. And I'm definitely open to opportunities in 2022.
Okay, perfect. So as you speak about content creation still, I know one thing that you recently, I don't know how long, you've had in the works is Rediscovery Sid Martin.
Yes.
Could you tell us about that, and where did that idea come from?
So Rediscovery Sid Martin is a series that myself, my husband, and his partner Earl Evans started. Well, my husband, Valies, and Earl Evans came up with the concept and started the process of Rediscover Sid Martin. And then, I became kind of the character, one of the characters in that story. We started last year as soon as we were able to come out of quarantine, out of lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, out of lockdown. We started with our tapings. So Rediscovery Sid Martin is basically closely related to what GCY does. It's showing different entities on the island and what they have. So with season 1, what we're about to wrap up, it focused more on different restaurants on the island that we went to. Sample their food, showcase their food. And then what we did with it also was to create somewhat of a spy series around that. So you have the operative GCY Initiative that is being contacted by a shadow figure that she doesn't know, but they can contact her. And then she goes out on these different missions where she goes to different restaurants on the island. And that's basically the concept of it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. It was something out of my comfort
Yeah,
zone.
because
I had to be in front of the camera. I had to be an actor with absolutely no training. So it was definitely fun. We have 8 episodes out right now. It's actually showing on TV Carib.
Nice.
So you could actually see it on TV Carib or on their website. Also, they have the episodes up. So we had episode 8 aired Monday gone, and then episode 8 part 1 came out Monday. Episode 8 part 2 is going to be coming the following Monday, and then that's going to be the wrap up of our season 1 of Rediscovery Sid Martin.
Okay,
yeah,
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So another thing, as you mentioned, your husband Sharence Lee, that comes to mind is the Poetry Club.
Yes, Ports Lounge.
Ports Lounge, sorry. Yeah,
No
Ports
problem.
Lounge. How long has that been in operation? And also, were you guys the founders of it as well?
No, the Ports Lounge has been in operation for 7 years. I think this year itself we celebrated 7 years.
Nice.
The founder of that was Esdra Richardson.
Okay.
It was her concept, and then she brought it to life with the assistance of Sharence Lee. He then became the host. She asked him to host for the first one, and then he just kind of stuck for the rest of it. And pretty much in a lot of instances, anything my husband is involved in, I end up involved in. So then I went there pretty often, and then I kind of became part of the team also. And then we recently also added Wendell Moore, who became our DJ. So it's a little family. But yeah, Poets Lounge, 7 years up and running. Every month, every first Tuesday. It's been a while, so I'm not quite sure. Every first Tuesday of the month is what we usually kept it. But then with the hurricane, it paused, and then it came back. And then with coronavirus, it paused. And yeah, just being that we wanted to keep our poets and our guests safe, we were just like, let's just pause it for a second, let the island catch itself with these numbers, because we don't want to be the reason for an outbreak. So we just like paused it for a second, and then we're checking out the scene to see the availability to start back, if we're going to start back, and how we're going to go about doing that.
Okay, we're probably at a different location or same?
That's yet to be seen, because we were at the last few times that we had it for the year, we were at 978 Sanctorum, which fit perfectly, which is an amazing location, and it definitely fit what the Poets Lounge is about. But then as, I don't know, a few months ago when France put in their regulations, and a lot of our guests wouldn't want to like either have to get vaccinated or have a COVID test to attend. So it was just like really tricky how to go about doing that, and that's part of why we paused it.
Understood.
So for right now, it's just to see what's available, what can be done, and from there we can move forward with that.
Okay. So considering all of that, I'm curious about your take on the importance of arts for our island and the role it plays in the evolution of our culture. What are your opinions on that?
I am a lover of the arts. I love it. I think it is definitely necessary. I think it is so important to have the arts available, and definitely to promote it also, because I write. I've written since, I can't remember what form I was in, when Ms. Van Putten gave us an assignment to write a poem in English class. And from then, I just started to write my own little things. And it's a great way to express yourself and get whatever you need to get out. And I think that's true with any form of art. It's great for self-expression. If you can make money off of it too, I mean, that's awesome. But just from the self-expression point of view, I definitely think it is necessary. And the promotion of it, just so you are able to show other people. Like, my daughter is into dancing from before she can walk. And for her to see someone else that looks like her that is doing ballet, or she's into tap dance, I don't know where she got that. She just decided she wanted to do tap dance because the shoes make noise, so she wants to do tap dance. But with the promotion of the arts, like dance, for example, she can now see somebody on her island doing dance, and it encourages her more that she can do it. If you see someone that you know from your island that writes, if you see someone that is painting or any form of art, you know that there's a way to express yourself that doesn't have to be for everybody else. It can be for you alone, just to get whatever you need to get out. And I think that is so important because it helps me, and I don't know. I really believe in the arts, and I think it definitely should be something to be encouraged.
Okay, cool. I so agree with what you said. So from that, we'd like to talk about one of the main reasons I invited you to the program as well, which is to talk about, so I guess for context for listeners and viewers, there's been different, I guess I would say topics or ideas that came to mind I think is important to talk about. In talking to some female friends, one of them gave me an idea of really highlighting the sort of healthcare industry in relation to women and the need for more assistance with what we call postpartum care. Postpartum care and so forth. And one thing that came to mind in that discussion too is the fact that with close friend shared that they lost their child, and that they found out that there were several other people who went through that, and so these are issues and a topic that many can relate to. There's many women who have either experienced stillbirth or miscarriages. And so I made a post online asking for persons who would be willing to share their story, and you decided that you'd like to talk about your experience. And again, I thank you for that because I know it's not an easy discussion. But I guess to start off, could you tell us about your journey, your pregnancy journey through that time up until you lost your son?
Okay. So after the hurricane, because of the turmoil with the island and everything, my husband and I decided to go to the Netherlands for a bit because we had our daughter, and we just wanted to make sure that everything was calm with still on the island. So we went to Holland to do that. While in Holland in 2018, June or so, I found out that I was pregnant. And then everything was moving along fine, just as fine with my daughter's pregnancy. Everything seemed pretty okay. And then one afternoon, while I was relaxing at home, in my mom's home, I happened to sneeze, and there was liquid, fluid. I won't get more graphic than that for squeamish people. But I sneezed, and then it was like, that's not completely normal. I was like, I'm trying to convince myself that it is normal, but I'm like, I don't think that's normal. So I called my sister, who's my personal Google, and asked her about it. And she was like, I think maybe you should just visit the doctor just to make sure. I was home at home alone, so I kind of had to call my mom to come back and take me to the doctor. So I went to the doctor. He observed me, and then he told me that I'm going to go on immediate bed rest. It was a doctor on the front side. I don't remember. What did he say? And I think he didn't tell me exactly I don't think he told me exactly what was wrong. He was just telling me that I needed to go on immediate bed rest, and then first thing in the morning to go to the hospital to get checked in or to get checked up there. So I went home, bed rest, which was very hard because I had a 1.5-year-old at that time, who wants to play and is not used to mommy not playing with her. So thankfully I had my family. The next morning I went to the hospital. The doctors there checked me, and then the doctor told me that I had an incompetent cervix. So basically what that means, from what I looked up, is that as my son was growing, he was becoming too heavy for my body to carry, which is why I was put on bed rest. So I was, again, extended bed rest, but they checked me into the hospital just in case anything happened, in case I went into labor or anything. I was already at the hospital. It was supposed to be for a day or two, and then I ended up being in the hospital, I think, for about 2 weeks.
Wow.
They just kept me there, just observing. And for the entirety that I was there, everything else was normal. There was no more leaking, for lack of a better way to say it. Everything else seems fine. My son seemed fine because they checked me regularly. I was fine. I didn't have any abnormal aches or pains. When I got to, I think it was 27 weeks. I don't remember the exact time frame. They sent me to Colombia because if he was born too early, I think they can take care of him if he's born like 32 weeks. Then the hospital here will be able to take care of him. But earlier than that, then they aren't equipped to handle that.
Okay.
So when I got to a certain point, they sent me to Colombia, and then I stayed there for, I think it was a few days or a week about, and then my son was born. He was born premature because he was supposed to be born, and his due date was March, and it was in December, like maybe a week or so before Christmas. He actually was born in December in Colombia, so he was a Spanish man. So he was born prematurely, and then unfortunately he didn't make it. He was born, and I think I don't know exactly how long he was alive, but he couldn't quite make it out on his own, so he died.
And did you have to do a C-section?
Yes, I had to do an emergency C-section. What I actually learned afterwards, because in Colombia, when I was in Colombia also, they were observing me, which I didn't realize at the time, is that I had started having contractions. But with my daughter, I didn't have like the faint and then growing contractions, because similar, not similar. When I went there, my amniotic fluid was leaking with my daughter, so they had to induce my labor with my daughter. So that gradual creep up of intensity that you usually see them talk about in the movies and stuff, I didn't experience it with my daughter. So when it was happening with my son, I didn't realize that it was contractions. I just knew when I told them I was having pain. They came, they checked me, they checked him, and then
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so that morning that he was actually born, it grew. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna just wait, because it was close to the time they were supposed to come and check me anyway. So I was like, I'm gonna just tough it out until they get here, and then my placenta actually exited my body before my son. I think that contributed also.
So, is it supposed to happen the other way around?
Yes, the placenta is what's giving the baby its nutrients and oxygen and all of that stuff. So you deliver the baby and then you deliver the placenta. So for whatever reason, because the doctor, when I came back down, I inquired with my doctor here, and I think, if I'm remembering it correctly, she said, like, there's no specific reason on what will cause something, or they wouldn't know generally what caused that to happen. So that happened, and then they rushed me for an emergency C-section. And yeah, I'm not good with needles, so the epidural didn't work, so they had to put me under. So whatever happened after that,
It was a blur.
yeah, I have no idea about.
Wow.
Yeah.
And throughout that time, were you alone?
No, my mom was in Colombia with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of made it easier to.
Yeah. I couldn't. I don't think I would have done quite so well if I was by myself.
Were you able to hold your son?
No, I was able to see him. They asked me if I wanted to hold him or see him, but when I woke up from the anesthesia, I was completely gone. Like I was still trying to catch myself, and I was in shock for either like a few hours or for like a day. I was in shock. Like I knew what happened, but it didn't register what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So when they asked me if I wanted to hold him, I was like, no, let me just see him. But then afterwards, I kind of did want to hold him, but the nurse said that I couldn't. I'm not sure why. But then it was Spanish language barrier, so I wasn't there enough to inquire more of why. But I did get to see him. I have pictures of him, so I know what he looks like.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said though that you weren't sure how long he was alive, or
No.
Was that just not included in?
I don't remember. I don't
Just
remember
don't
seeing it
remember.
because when you travel from Colombia to St. Martin,
Mm-hmm.
I think for medical purposes, they send you with all that information. So if you get stopped or you have to check in with a doctor or whatever, they have that. So because I have my copy, I just sat one day and looked through it and happened upon a part that said that he was born alive. But the details of it, I don't really know, because after I saw that, I started to get emotional. So I was like,
Kinda
no,
shut
let me
down.
not do that to myself. Let me just put that away. And I didn't go into it anymore.
Okay. So how was that like? Considering as well, going through that experience alone is tough.
Mm-hmm.
There's fortunately, you have your husband.
Mm-hmm.
How was it like? I guess for you both to grieve that experience. I mean, I can imagine as a man being so happy to know that you had a son on the way.
They was telling me, no, you got both of them. You got the piano. And I don't know. I know how I dealt with it. My husband is a bit more, I'm going to say comfortable, if that's the best way to describe it, with death than I am.
Okay, I
So
understand.
given the information that he probably wouldn't go full term, that he probably wouldn't survive, especially if he was born really small, I think maybe he probably made his peace with it already. And me being on bed rest, and I'm still feeling him kick, they're checking him, everything is fine, I got really hopeful. So I knew what could happen, but everything was still going okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, okay, just make it to New Year's. Just make it to New Year's, and then we're going to get to go back home, and then we're going to be good. And I was just like, I was going on that hope. So I think that he just made his peace with it beforehand. So he coped with it a little bit better than I did. His main thing when I got home was just trying to make sure that I was okay, and that I was dealing with it, in a proper way, and helping out wherever he could, especially with my daughter, because C-section, giving birth, I couldn't like play with her.
Be as active.
And
yeah.
she was really small, so she didn't quite understand what was happening either. So it's hard to explain to her that mommy can't play with you and all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And how old is your daughter, by the way?
Right now, she's about to be 5.
Oh, wow. A big kid now, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, that's beautiful. Yeah, because I was going to ask if you ever were able to talk to her about, but I guess maybe she was still a bit too young.
No, I don't remember how it came up. Something we were talking about in the car on the way to school, and was it a picture that she happened to, I don't remember what it was, but we ended up telling her that mommy had a baby in her tummy, and then she was like, where's the baby? And you tell her, it's in heaven with Jesus. And she was like, but why he in heaven with Jesus? It's like, cause when he born, and Jesus wanted to take care of the baby, and just kind of leave it there. And she didn't have any more questions, thankfully, because I'm like pulling at straws, trying to figure out how to explain this to her.
Yeah.
My husband is better at words with those type of things. I'm just like, okay, you have anything to you try to find words to explain it to her. But yeah, I don't know if she remembers now, but she didn't ask any more questions, so I didn't give any more information. I just told her mommy had a baby at some point. Like, I had a baby in my tummy, and the baby is with Jesus, and we just left it there.
So how was it like then, coping and accepting that fact, especially its impact on you mentally, even your health?
After that, quite honestly, after I came back home, I just noticed myself very easily angered. So I don't know if that was postpartum, if that was the grief or what, but I was just easily irritated, easily like angry. I don't get angry. I like annoyed, a little bit mad, but like the pit of your stomach, like you're angry. That was happening, and that was happening quite often. So I actually sought therapy. I got a therapist at the Mental Health Foundation to deal with that, just to make sure that I was dealing with my grief in a healthy way, because I definitely didn't want to lash out on my daughter. That was my biggest worry, is that at some point something would happen and I would project on her. And I didn't want to do that, especially if she had no idea what was going on or what mommy was going through. And then all of a sudden mommy is attacking her or whatever the case is. So I went to mental health and I sought therapy. I don't remember how long I did it for, but I think it helped. And then with that also, I'm a believer in that everything happens for a reason. Don't understand why, don't know what it's supposed to be, but there's a bigger picture that I have no clue about. So there had to be a reason that I was supposed to get pregnant, and there was something that I was supposed to take away from that. And that is what I go on, and yeah.
Would you say that that has given you a fear of maybe getting pregnant again?
It did for a while. Because at first I was like, nope, not again. Nope. And then as time went on, I was like, I'm more open to the idea, because it's not guaranteed to go south again. Because one of the nurses told me, is like, there was nothing that I did that caused that. I could have been at a desk job sitting down every day, or I could have been jumping up and down. Like, there was nothing that I could have done to stop that from happening. So if I have another pregnancy, because when that happened, I went online and I looked things up. So not because it happened one time means that it'll happen again. There's no guarantee to that. So I'm okay with the idea right now. I hope it doesn't have to happen. But, I mean, if it happens a second time, then I'm definitely going to be like, nope, I'm going to just have to be happy with one child. But we'll see how life goes.
Gotcha. Okay, so my final question for you is, like I said, I am aware of quite a bit of women who've experienced that. Were you able to connect with others? Did you find others who had that similar experience?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have people that are close to me in my life, family members, that have gone through multiple miscarriages. And I find that breaks my heart so much. And then I'm also part of a mom group on Facebook. So then I put the question out there, and there were several women in that mom group that experienced miscarriage or some type of pregnancy issue. And it was just like, oh, so there really is a lot of us out there. And that, again, is so sad, I find. But what also breaks me is just that it seems very taboo. Like, a lot of people don't want to talk about it.
Indeed.
And that, I think it's not beneficial to anyone, because then when it happens to you, you feel like you're alone, and you feel like you can't talk about it. And in the instances where people then disregard your feelings, or like something like that happens, I'm like, no, that's not the way to deal with it. Like, you should talk about it. Then you'll realize how many people have gone through that, and how much support you have out there, even if it's from strangers. Like, you realize how much support you have out there. Like, that's nothing to be taboo about. It's something to be spoken about, so that hopefully we can learn from each other's experience, to, even if it's to know signs of something going wrong, or to whatever the case is. It can only benefit you to speak when you're able to, of course, to speak on it, so that you can find your support, you can find your tribe with that, so that it can help you on your healing journey.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you so much, Glenda. It was much appreciated. And, yeah, thank you for speaking up, because in doing this, it becomes less taboo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's real.
Yeah, it's very real.
Yeah.
On this small island, it's also very, very real.
Yes, I definitely hope to have more conversations on such topics, you could say. And again, I'm glad you spoke about your experience doing what you're doing, and keep it up. You're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So to our listeners and viewers as well, thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the News Behind the News, and I wish you a good afternoon further, and take care.